Hello everyone and welcome back to episode 98 of Knowing Wheel. And yes, we're finally here with our 2023 preview shows. I'm joined as always by Jamie183. How are we feeling, mate? We're finally getting towards the season.
It feels like a long time coming. We've waffled an awful lot over the winter, but we're finally here for 2023. So it's going to be exciting. We've got a few cars to go over, and we're getting into the season already, which is going to come around very, very fast.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So basically, we've kind of decided we're going to combine the livery reactions to a pre-season sort of preview show. So Haas, Williams and Red Bull this week are going to be sort of the points of discussion. We've got a few different sort of topics we want to talk about for each team. And of course, yeah, then next week I think is the bumper episode of 4 teams before the final 3, just before the Bahrain Grand Prix in a few weeks' time. But quickly, before we get into that, you guys have been asking for it. Finally, we can confirm we are now on Apple Podcasts. I'm not going to lie, it's been a nightmare. As someone who doesn't use an iPhone or Apple products ever, it has taken me a fair old time to finally get the show on Apple Podcasts. So, if you're watching this on YouTube or you listen on Spotify and you prefer to use Apple, there will be links down in the description below that you can go check it out over there. Of course, make sure you give us a follow, or I think it's subscribe over on Apple. I'm still trying to learn the lingo and everything like that. But yeah, we've got it all set up now. If there's any other platforms you want us to host this on as well, let me know down in the comments below, and I'll try and see what I can do. But Jamie, looking towards it then, of course, last Tuesday, wasn't it? In fact, before last show came out,
yes, it was.
Haas unveiled their 2023 livery.
In the classic show timing, something major happened between the point of recording and the point of the show coming out. So
to be fair, we did know this one.
Yeah, we did see it coming. But the Haas did indeed come out on Tuesday, and it was slightly underwhelming on the most part. We kind of hype up livery reveals, but then they're always, especially like the Haas and the Red Bull, etc., they're all just either on models or they're on last year's cars, so you can't really look too much into it until we get into testing and into the first race in Bahrain. But I quite like the livery. Going to put it out there straight away. I do think it's an improvement on last year.
Quite like the livery. There's a couple of things that annoy me on it, but I think for the most part, I think we've kind of accepted now, haven't we, in modern day Formula 1, that we are pre-season, like obviously it is just livery revealed nowadays rather than car reveals anymore. So I think obviously now we're kind of just expecting that in the future. But of course, Haas, they've got their new title sponsor in MoneyGram ready for 2023, so it has actually a little bit of foreshadowing. Unlike the other 2 teams we're going to discuss, there is actually a bit of a change up on their livery at least. But I quite like it. The one thing, Jamie, that really, really annoys me about this 2023 livery on the Haas is the fact that the MoneyGram logos on the engine cover, because MoneyGram refused to have their logo mirrored on one side, just looks like it's spinning around in a circle, which is rather annoying.
The top down is a tribute to the former driver Nikita Mazepin. So
yes,
which I've completely stolen that from Reddit, so thank you very much for that. But yes, the MoneyGram logo, it's a bit big and bulky for me. It's just a bit weird that Palm Angels is on the side as well. But in terms of what the designers of delivery can do, obviously they're a bit limited by the sponsorship obligations. But in terms of everything they can control, I think they've done a good job. And I do quite like the predominantly black. It looks like a Haas, but it looks like a nicer Haas than it was last year.
Yes, yeah, and I think, to be honest, a lot of people have been saying this is their second best livery behind the Rich Energy one.
Nah.
I reckon it might be better.
I don't like that one. I got bad memories of racing with you for a season of AOR in that Haas. So, Did
we?
Yeah. Don't you remember?
Oh, F3. Yes, I do remember. Yeah, I completely forgot about that. I honestly couldn't remember that we were in the Haas.
Terrible livery. But
fair enough.
No, this one I do prefer. I much prefer this one, to be fair.
So are we saying it then? Best Haas livery?
I'm a fan of the 2017 with the shark fin, to be fair.
Yeah, I quite like the 2016 car as well, to be completely honest.
The original. Yeah, I would have to go and look at them, but it's certainly up there, I would say.
So, out of 10 then, Jamie, we're going to be trying to keep a ranking board of deliveries ready for 2023. Now, I feel like, again, some of these are going to get quite skewed because I feel like we're going to rank cars that haven't really changed lower. But we'll start it out. Out of 10, Jamie, what are we rating the Haas car?
Oh, see, this time last year, I just gave everything a 6 or an 8, basically, depending on if I liked it or I didn't like it. So I'm gonna give it a 6.5.
Okay, I was gonna actually rock a 7.5 or an 8, to be completely honest.
I don't want to go too high because
I
I feel like there are going to be ones that I like more, but it's certainly an inoffensive addition to the grid.
Yes, yeah. And I mean, looking obviously towards 2023 there for Haas, like we said, this is meant to be a bit of a season preview show even. Sorry, I should say.
It's not started yet.
Tribute show, yeah, exactly. Obviously, 2022 was kind of make or break, wasn't it, for Haas? I know we discussed this prior to last year, and we sort of said, if that car didn't live up to the expectation and they were still right towards the back, then it was probably down and out for Haas. They didn't do amazingly well last year. 8th place overall, wasn't it, in the Constructors come the end of the campaign. However, it felt like there were a lot of positive moments. Of course, the most notable probably being that pole position that they got in Brazil.
Yeah, insane to be fair. And just the competitiveness of the car all round off the back of 2021, which was a really, really bad year for Haas. They basically admitted they wrote the car off from the first race onwards. They've stabilised the ship. They've got a car last year that was competitive for points on occasion, which when you're battling the likes of, massive car companies like McLaren, like effectively Renault through Alpine and Aston Martin, you're going to struggle to get much beyond being competitive for points as an independent, to be fair. So
yeah,
I think with kind of low expectations that they probably have, that is kind of where they're at, which I think is fine. Like, they're not a super team unless they get a super, massive takeover in the future. They're always going to be kind of on the periphery of points, while the likes of Alpine, McLaren, Aston Martin, all of those kind of teams who are around, they're going to struggle without major backing to really progress into them.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think it's always a bit difficult as well, isn't it? Because I think a lot of people as well Haas are one of those weird teams, aren't they? Where we always remember the brilliant results. Like Bahrain and Saudi Arabia, obviously Kevin Magnussen was absolutely on it. But we kind of also forget just how many weekends a year that Haas can be just completely in the middle of nowhere. And there were a few occasions last year where they were really down sort of level with Williams, wasn't it? Which I'm sure is not what they wanted. But as you mentioned, it was a very good point. They are really, it's them and Williams now that really are the privateer teams.
Yeah. And ultimately in F1, the money makes a lot of difference. Obviously, you need capable engineers and good personnel in the team, but money really results in all of those things coming if you manage well. So
money makes the world go round.
Well, apparently, especially in Formula 1, that's true. So yeah, that it is kind of, you do kind of have low expectations for these teams like Williams and Haas, and that's why those special moments such as the pole position or the 5th place in Bahrain, they're really special for a team like Haas and Williams and those kind of teams. So it is a difficult time for privateers in terms of overall success, but you kind of live for those moments like what they had in Brazil last year.
Yes, exactly. And I think, as we look towards 2023 though, Jamie, do we think that Haas can go better than last year? Do we think they can finish above 8th?
It's kind of, who are they beating? You're relying on someone above them really dropping off.
Yeah.
If I was putting money on it,
those teams dropping off badly,
I'm not sure. If I was putting money on it, I'd put them in the same place, to be honest, in 8th place.
Okay. I was going to go one worse. I think AlphaTauri next year will probably get their act together a bit more.
Well, AlphaTauri should have been ahead of Haas last year based on car pace, but they just weren't.
Yes, exactly. A lot of missed opportunities for AlphaTauri as well, wasn't it? So Haas were lucky, because I think it's weird, isn't it? 9th would have looked a lot worse than 8th for Haas come the end of last year. So I think they were quite lucky that they were able to sort of hang on to that come the end of the year. Of course, Haas as well, though, keeping Kevin Magnussen again back for a second year, for a second time. He's now obviously teamed up with Nico Hülkenberg, ready for 2023.
The man, I should say.
I feel like we might have differing results here, but which of these drivers, I don't even know why I'm asking the question,
why are you
I know
asking?
what you're going to say. Why do you believe that Nico Hülkenberg is going to win out in 2023 is probably a more suitable question.
I think he will take a little bit of time to get the rust off, but he will hit the ground like mid-season. I think he'll just start smashing it. And I think in terms of driver ability, I just do think Hulkenberg is better than Magnussen, as a fact. And we saw as he stepped in the Racing Point in 2020 that he was able to really deliver very strong results, and he was limited a lot by the physicality.
Against Lance Stroll.
But respect to Stroll and disrespect to Magnussen, I would probably rate those two, Stroll and Magnussen, as similar-ish as ability of level drivers. So I do think that Hulkenberg will win out this, and if especially, obviously he's a bit older now than he was last time he was in full-time F1, but he went toe-to-toe with Ricciardo a season after beating Sainz in his last 2 full seasons. And those two are very, well, at the time, very credible drivers. So I do think Hulkenberg will beat out Magnussen over the course of the year.
Okay, fair enough. I think it's going to be very close between them both. I think, like we said, Magnussen, I feel like, again, the way Haas just build their cars suits the start of the year. Obviously, just the tracks that are at the start of the campaign. So I feel like Magnussen might be able to hit the ground running again in 2023. It'll build up a little bit of advantage. Obviously, like we said, Hulk gets the rust off. But I think that come the end of the year, Magnussen will just about win out. But it'll be very, very few points in it. But of course, Haas, I don't think are going to be scoring many points. So it'll still be enough to get the job done.
It's the sort of thing where one major result can really swing it. So.
Yes, exactly. It might sort of completely change the way we sort of view that driver pairing. One bold prediction then, Jamie, for Haas in 2023.
I feel like I've got to, as a Hulkenberg fan for many, many years.
You're not going to say it.
I've got to say it. Hulkenberg on the podium, 2023. Here we go.
You reckon the Haas are going to get their first ever podium, and it's going to be Hulk's first ever podium?
Indeed, I am saying that. And it's probably heart over head. And if I had money, I would not put it on this. But I'm going to say it anyway.
Fair enough. Jamie, you are not as wise as I once thought. This is meant to be Knowing Wheel, not Hoping Wheel.
Hopeful Wheel is a new name.
I'm trying to think what I sort of think Haas bold prediction will be. I don't see a world where they get another pole, I suppose. I'm trying to think of a bold prediction for Haas. They won't win a race. Not ridiculous. You know what? I'm going to say it. Magnussen's going to get a podium.
Fair.
Let's go with it.
So we're both raising our expectations hugely for one of the drivers.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. One driver, but it's going to be Magnussen, is going to get a podium in that Haas in 2023. Shall we move down then, Jamie, to the Friday reveal, which did make me chuckle because I didn't bother watching this one.
No, I didn't.
The Red Bull reveal. Of course, has to be mentioned before we get into it. Partnership with Ford for 2026.
Indeed.
What do we make of that?
I think this was kind of on the cards for a while. There's been whispers about Ford, or certainly another major manufacturer, wanting to return to F1 in 2026. I think it's good all round, really, for the sport, for the both companies involved. And yeah, it's curious though, something to mention. They announced the engine manufacturers for 2026, and you had Ford, Red Bull powertrains as one entry. You had Ferrari, Mercedes, Renault as 3 entries, but you still had Honda, which I did think was interesting. Because
honestly, I was thinking about this as well. I'm really worried. I think we're gonna see McLaren go back to them.
That would be
I know this is just a discussion for the other. I know this is a discussion for another day. I just feel like it's either going to be. So I think it's going to be McLaren or Williams.
I would
Williams
think
is the more believable. No, Red Bull have already made it clear they do not want AlphaTauri using different powertrains still. I don't think they want the sort of a rebirth of. I know it was obviously a very long time ago, but 08, where the AlphaTauri, or obviously the Toro Rosso back then was quicker because it had a Ferrari power unit rather than a Renault one. I don't think Red Bull want to do that.
I was thinking more Honda would just buy out AlphaTauri's team and enter. Like,
there's still the potential of that, but there's still just this belief that Red Bull don't really want to give AlphaTauri up just yet.
Yeah, it's interesting, but it's one for the future, definitely, and we can probably discuss it a bit further down the line. But Honda...
Episode 300.
Yeah, Honda still want to be involved in Formula 1, despite effectively being ghosts now, because they're no longer...
so weird.
Anyway, yeah, it's very strange.
But they're not, like, not part of Formula 1. They're back on the Red Bull cars, aren't they?
Yeah, despite leaving. They're like, oh, actually, Red Bull, now you're winning championships. Can we stay a bit?
But they'd already, they were winning the championship when they said they'd be leaving. It just, Honda, it just doesn't make any sense. What sort of goes on over. It's like they're trying to find out F1 information on dial-up or something.
Yeah.
And they're getting information 6 months after everyone else. It just feels so weird.
Yeah.
But honestly, I don't know why, but there's just a little part of me that believes that what we're going to see, this is kind of like my hypothetical at the moment, is McLaren aren't going to get any closer to the front using Mercedes power units, which is obviously why they left Mercedes power units in the first place. I feel like now they're going to see how Honda have been able to develop an engine that was good enough to win. McLaren, of course, we've seen a huge shift in their culture as well since 2015, and obviously the start of that whole debacle. I feel like they're going to go back to it again. I'm not going to say whether it's going to work. I mean, it can't work out much worse than last time. But I feel like it might now be the key to bring them back close to the top.
Yeah.
But that is a discussion for a very, very
massive
long time
tangent. Back to
down
Ford.
the line.
I
Back
think
to
it's
Ford and
generally
Red Bull.
good. And it's good for F1 in America as well, getting a big American name. If Andretti...
But we had GM wanting to come in.
Yeah.
I feel like this was why everyone was so against GM.
I'm not sure, really. But obviously Andretti may or may not happen. We still don't really know. But the fact we've got a definite American presence in the form of Ford is good for F1.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's no real point talking about the livery, is there? Because it's exactly the same as last year's
And
car.
it just amuses me that people wasted their time watching the reveal when it was going to be exactly the same. It always was.
Red Bull don't change livery. We'll give them a special shout out, though. It is quite cool that they're allowing fans next year to design liveries for each of the US Grand Prix. I can't see any way that that's not going to work out
There's going to be so many parody attempts on Twitter and Reddit
there is
about
gonna
that.
Be a lot.
Yeah, we should just make a livery that just has our logo on the side.
We are going to make a knowing your livery at some point down the line, so look forward to that. Get yourself tuned in for that episode. But I mean, obviously, Red Bull. I mean, what can we say? Of course, after the dramatic title conclusion in 2021. They absolutely just kicked the ball out of the park, didn't they, in 2022? Looked a little bit shaky at the start of the year, but they quickly stamped out any issues and never really looked back in most of the second half of the campaign. It felt like towards the end they started to come under a little bit of pressure from both Ferrari and Mercedes, but it certainly wasn't consistent.
Yeah.
Surely this year, anything less than another championship double is a disappointment. But we have got the penalty for the budget cap.
Yeah, that'll be the challenge. The big thing for Red Bull to try and kind of see off is this reduced aero time in the wind tunnel. And yeah, they are going to be a little bit like they're going to probably have to obey the budget cap this year because you imagine a second defence and the penalty would probably get worse. So that might affect them.
I don't know whether did you see the comments that Max Verstappen made today?
No,
which I found quite interesting. It was along the lines of, and I'm going to try and paraphrase this here, of course, of that they admitted they went slightly over the budget cap, but he was also sort of there I'd rather not finish second or third every year. There's nothing more depressing than that. So you're kind of there going, are you suggesting that it's okay to cheat as long as you win? Or how has this been twisted?
Yeah, that's a very easy to manipulate headline right there. But yeah, the Red Bull obviously was overall the strongest package last year. Maybe not the fastest car in terms of super times, but they were the only serious team that had one of the fastest cars out of them and Ferrari. Obviously, Mercedes were really struggling. I think in terms of ability to run a team, Red Bull absolutely blow Ferrari out of the water. The only team that could hold a candle against them is probably Mercedes if they have a car similar. I think the expectations for the season kind of depend on how quick the car is from the off, because if we rock up and Mercedes have the fastest car again, Red Bull will struggle to come back, I think.
Which does make me chuckle, the fact there is still just this belief, isn't there, up and down the grid, that for Red Bull, it's all about what Mercedes will do.
Yeah.
It's not about what they do. Everyone's just thinking, what will Mercedes do?
It also amuses me if people disregard Ferrari from the off, even if Ferrari do have a faster car.
Yeah, that does also make me laugh. Even if Ferrari are quicker at the start of next year, it won't really matter because it's all about what Mercedes will do. But I mean, like we said, obviously this year they're going to be trying to gun for title number 3, of course, for Verstappen, and obviously their second constructors in a row. One bold prediction then, Jamie, for 2023.
Ooh, how bold can we go here? See, it's not very bold just predicting a championship, is it? What can
No. Not when they're reigning champions.
I will say every race Verstappen finishes with a fully functioning car, he finishes on the podium.
That's not really a bold prediction either, to be completely honest.
There's not that many caveats with that, is there? I think that's okay. He finishes.
Yeah, but he's
I'll go
done
one
that
better.
before.
I'll go top 2. How about that?
Top 2 every race.
Every race he finishes with a fully functioning car.
Okay.
It's very hard to make a bold prediction when Red Bull are as dominant as they were last year.
I'm going to make a bold prediction.
Here we go.
I don't think they are going to win it.
Wow, both.
I reckon
either.
I reckon they won't win either title this year. I think everyone has just gone on so much about how that wind tunnel time is not harsh enough penalty. 12% less than Ferrari. I think it's like 17% less than Mercedes next year. I think they're going to really struggle. I was tempted to say they're like the third fastest car, but still finish second ahead of Ferrari. But I won't go that far. But I don't think Red Bull are going to win either title in 2023. That's my bold prediction.
Fair. Wow.
I mean, we're going to ask as well which driver will win out in 2023. It's not really much of a question, is it? How much will Verstappen beat Perez
I think
this year
Verstappen
if Perez isn't going to help him?
No, Verstappen will absolutely destroy Perez once again. I think Perez will pick up an odd win, but Verstappen will rinse him, as usual.
Yeah. Do we think we're going to see more inner-team rivalry this year because Checo's been so much I'm not helping him anymore?
No. Frankly.
Okay, fair enough.
And here is the point where I interject very smoothly with this week's quiz question for Matt212 to have a go at answering. I have asked a very similar question to this at some point in the last 12 months, but we're going to ask it again because it's...
How badly did I do last time you asked it? That's the real question.
You forgot someone very important last time, but we will move on and ask... obviously, Red Bull, one of their big things they've done in Formula 1 is really, really focus on driver development and the Young Driver Programme.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you to name as many drivers as you can who have been a part of the Red Bull Driver Academy junior team at any point in their junior career and gone on to race in Formula 1.
Oh, what sort of a question is that?
So back from the point of Red Bull Junior Academy starting, which I believe was in the late 90s.
Oh, mate, what is that?
There's only one.
Question?
There's one that you might not have heard of. The rest of them you should have. So you got a minute and a half to know as many as you can.
How many answers are there?
Oh,
Sorry,
I haven't
before
counted.
you start.
Okay,
let
me restart.
Can you tell me how many there are quickly before we get into it? What sort of a question is that?
Oh, there's 20.
Honestly?
There's only 20.
20?
Yeah, you got 90 seconds and your time starts now.
Sebastian Vettel, Carlos Sainz, Max Verstappen, Pierre Gasly, Alex Albon.
Doing well.
Trying to think who was the last one from the 2022 grid that I forgot. Yuki Tsunoda. Then further back we got Sebastian Bourdais, Sebastian Buemi, Jean-Eric Vergne, Jaime Alguersuari, Brendan Hartley. No, he wasn't.
Yeah,
was
that
he?
counts.
Does he count? Oh, he counts. Okay. Trying to think other Toro Rosso drivers. Daniel Ricciardo already said. Have I? No, I don't think I did. I forgot Ricciardo. Further back.
You've had half your time. You're doing well.
Trying to think further back. You had the Brazilian guy, Pedro Diniz. Was it?
No.
There was a Brazilian guy.
There was a Brazilian. Yep.
Oh, what was his name? I shouldn't spend too much time thinking about that. No.
30 seconds.
Sebastian Bourdais, I've already said. Buemi, I've said. Jaime Alguersuari, I've said. Jean-Eric Vergne, Further back.
You've got
early
all the
2000s. Kimi Räikkönen?
No.
Antonio Luizzi, Christian Klein.
You got 5 seconds.
Oh, I'm trying to think. I can see his face, but I can't remember his name. Oh, it's annoying. How many did I get? I'll take that. I felt like I did okay.
Oh, go away, timer. Okay. There are 7 left.
Oh.
So, but I actually didn't have Bourdais on the list. I don't know how, but so there were actually 21. So you got 14 out of 21.
2/3.
2/3 is not bad. You missed Danica Kvyat.
Damn, should have got that.
Yeah, you should have got that. Scott Speed,
He was at
you
Red
also
Bull
should
like
have got.
4 times. Oh yeah, should have got that.
And then the rest are quite hard, but Patrick Friesacker,
You would not have got that.
Lorraine Karthikeyan was in Red Bull Driver
Was
Academy,
he?
apparently.
Bloody hell.
Enrique Bernoldi was...
Was he the Brazilian I
I
was
think he's
thinking
Brazilian.
of?
Maybe he's Italian, but I think he's Brazilian. Robert Dornbos, race for Red Bull in 05.
And what's the best fact about Robert Dornbos of all time, Jamie?
Wasn't he a politician?
No.
Oh.
No.
Very opposite. What was it?
He was definitely not a politician.
No, that was Carlos Reutemann, I believe.
It was. After Robert Dornbos stopped in Formula 1, he co-owns now a online business selling sex toys.
Oh, interesting.
So not quite a politician.
That's a fact I didn't exactly need, but I'll take it.
You will remember that.
And the last one is Karen Chandok. Was in
Karun Chandok.
Yeah,
Karen Chandok.
Sorry. Whose career in Formula 1 is actually very long because he's now a Sky Sports pundit.
He is, yeah. Exactly.
So
exactly.
you go. You did all right. 66%.
I will take that, actually. You know what? I'm quite
if I could
happy
win
with that.
2/3 of the races, or if Verstappen won 2/3 of the races, I'd be happy.
Fair enough. It'd be another quite boring season if he does. Let's head down then, Jamie. Our third and final team then of a preview show, episode 1. It is the boys and girls down at Williams. What do we make of it? We all thought we were getting a Golf livery car, and they've let us down. It's basically last year's car with a few different paint bits.
Yes, but I quite like it.
So do I.
I
think it's the wheel rims for me.
Last year's livery was nice anyway, but I think the blue accents like around the side pod kind of.
I'm just thinking
slightly
we never
lighter.
rated the Red Bull livery at
didn't.
10.
That's going to screw the clip now, isn't it?
It is.
I
going,
think
though,
the
it's
Red
fine.
Bull is 7 out of 10.
I'm going to say it's a 6.
There we go. Spliced that in earlier, and we're back with Williams.
We're back with Williams.
Wow, that's going to be interesting. I just think the Williams, the blue around the edges of the dark blue, are a bit lighter of a shade, and it makes it pop a lot more, I think. So I really do quite like this livery. It's very subtly different to last year. Obviously, it's probably not going to be the best on the grid, but I think again, it's they found something that works, and they've made some minor adjustments and made it better, which for a brand is kind of all you can ask for when it's not going to change drastically every year.
Exactly. Like I said, I really like the wheel covers. I think they do make a big difference with those little arrows on it, which show which way the wheels are meant to go, whether they will or not.
I'm looking forward to the first time one of them is reversing and we get lots of memes.
We will get a lot of memes about that as well. It will be Logan Sargent in winter testing, don't you worry. I mean, Williams, what do we really say about Williams at the moment still, isn't it? We feel like I mean, we've mentioned this before, haven't we? That we hope this isn't sort of when we're sort of documenting the end of Williams. But there's still always that worry in the back of my mind still. Last year, they scored some points. They were semi-competitive at some circuits, but it was basically just tracks that were very high speed and that weren't windy was kind of the big thing for Williams last year. But that being said, they've got rid of Nicholas Latifi, and they've replaced him with another North American driver that I don't really think any of us quite know exactly what he's going to be able to do this year, do we?
Yeah, Logan Sargent's a really unknown quantity because in Formula 3, he basically matched Piastri in their year together, and then he ran out of funding, so couldn't go up to F2 with them. So he's been pushed back a few years, basically. But then his first year in F2 last year, he was very impressive. So it's very difficult to tell what we're going to get. Because he's not done much single-seater racing in his life, and it does feel like he's kind of come out of nowhere. Like this time last year, no one was really talking about Sargent as a potential future F1 driver. But fair play to him, he had a very solid season in the Formula 2, and it is quite exciting to see what he's going to be able to do in Formula 1, even if the machinery might hold him back a little.
Yeah, I mean, I still feel there's a little bit of Williams are trying to kick back at other teams just using them as a place to put their juniors. And Williams have kind of gone, we have got our own junior drivers, by the way. And
ironically, look the other side of the garage and you'll see exactly
Well,
that.
yeah, but not really, though, is he, Albon, anymore?
No,
I don't genuinely see Albon ever going back to Red Bull.
No, neither do I.
Or Toro Rosso, AlphaTauri, sorry, for that matter. But it feels like, look, don't get me wrong, I think Logan Sargent is certainly a good driver to have in the car, or the potential to be a good driver to have in the car. But it does feel a bit like they're sort of well, we've had Albon, we've had Russell, you know what, let's actually have one of our own juniors back in the car for once. But I mean, he's not going to be. I don't believe he's going to be worse than Latifi. To be honest, he might be to begin with, but I think he will be better overall than Nicholas. But I think it's also quite difficult because I think a lot of people don't realise it. Albon is a very, very good driver as well.
Yeah, I think
just
Albon
had the Red Bull curse.
Albon has been unfortunate in the driver that he was up against in Red Bull, like we saw with basically every driver that's gone against Verstappen since 2019, has kind of been shown to look really bad when actually they're very capable drivers in themselves. And arguably Albon, like certainly 2019 when he got shoved into that car in his rookie season, did okay against Verstappen compared to what Gasly and Perez have done since. So,
interesting fact for you, Jamie. Alex Albon at that Grand Prix was, if I'm not mistaken, the second least experienced Formula 1 driver to race a Red Bull car in a Grand Prix.
The second least?
Yeah.
Who was the least? Was it
the
Robert
only other one I
Dornbos?
could think of was Christian Klein. I don't think he'd ever driven in a Formula 1 race.
Yeah, so someone...
Or did he drive Jaguar beforehand? This has turned out into quite a poor fact if I'm
this fact is not very grounded.
He might well have been then the least experienced Red Bull driver of all time.
Nah, I'm about to ruin your fact. Sorry. Hang on. Robert Dornbos had done 8 races for Minardi.
He hadn't driven a Red Bull though, did he?
Yeah, he drove Red Bull 06.
Did he?
Yeah, end of 06.
Oh, fair enough. Then. I got that.
Maybe he's the only one. I don't know. This fact is rubbish. Let's move on.
It's not a fact anymore if it's incorrect.
Yeah, just a piece of incorrect literature. But back to Alex Albon. He is very capable. We kind of sleep on him. A lot of people slept on him last season.
You were.
Yeah. So
I'm so immature. So immature.
I didn't even get that at all. Straight over my head. We'll move on. I do think, to jump ahead to which driver will win out, I do think Albon will beat.
He
Sargent.
should do that. He should.
If he doesn't, then Sargent might be serious.
It's either Sargent just gets that one lucky Williams result, or Albon, is really not as good as we've just now spoke about him being. I mean, looking towards 2023 though, Jamie, are we expecting Williams to be any higher than at the bottom?
I think there's hope for them to not be 10th, but I think realistically their aspiration, their absolute maximum they can get is 8th, to be honest. Which I'm not saying they will get 8th, but in terms of the cars they're up against, they need AlphaTauri and Haas to have absolute shockers. And
they were a long way off anyone at the end of last year.
Yeah.
I mean, 8 points to AlphaTauri's 35 is quite a mammoth gap come the end of a season. I think, honestly, for me, I do still believe they're going to finish 10th next year. But I think it's going to be more a question of, how much closer they can be to those midfield cars. You know, it's whether they can get into double-digit points or something like that.
Yeah, I might back them for P9. You know.
Okay.
AlphaTauri have lost their main asset in Gasly this year, so you never know. Red Bull are running out of money. They can't afford to give AlphaTauri any money anymore. So
Red Bull are running out of money?
Well, they've used it all on 2022 car, haven't they?
No. What? Eh?
I know it's not a pot that's shared, but you know what I mean.
I was going to say, what on earth are you on about?
They stole AlphaTauri's money to rate the cost.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Just for the catering.
More conspiracies. Here we go.
Okay, yeah, there we go. AlphaTauri actually had a budget of 62 pence last year.
Yeah.
Red Bull just took all the money.
Yeah.
Did we rate the Williams livery? Sorry, out of 10?
We haven't yet.
I'm going to say 8.5. It's my favourite one so far.
Out of the 3, I'd probably agree with you. I'd give it an 8. Yeah.
Fair enough.
We like it.
We do. We like it. We like it down here. Anything else, though, Jamie?
We haven't done a prediction, have we?
We haven't done a prediction, sorry. A prediction
You're really
for
not
what?
sticking
One
to
bold
this,
prediction.
These notes,
we did come up with a plan for this, and we've kind of just gone all over the show. One bold prediction for 2023 then, Jamie. I'm going to say Williams score points in 6 Grand Prix.
How many did
Not saying it'll be many points.
How many occasions was it last year? 3?
4. If I'm not mistaken. They scored 2 points on 4 occasions. I think they got 4 ninth places, didn't they?
Albon had a 10th somewhere, I think. I'm not sure. But
Oh, no, they might have been 5 then.
I mean,
let me just double check.
Yeah, double check it. I think I think Albon will score a top 7 somewhere.
Okay. It was 5 times, sorry, last year. Obviously, Latifi and De Vries each got a 9th. Albon got a 9th.
Oh,
and
yeah,
2
Latifi
tenths.
got a 9th. I forgot about that.
Yeah, Japan.
Yeah, I would say
Saved his F1 career.
Albon for top 7 somewhere.
What,
not
in
the championship.
I was going to say.
Yeah, in one race.
Top 7 in one race. Fair enough. I think that's completely fair. There we go, though. I think that is... I mean, we haven't really got much other F1 news to talk about this week, have we, Jamie, particularly? We had nothing on the notes, unless you've
I
thought
don't
of something.
believe so. No.
No, fair enough. Right, well, we will be back then, ready next week. Like we said, I think we've got 4 teams to go through in next week's episode.
I'll be out of office,
quickly...
so I need to work out how it's going to work.
You'll be out of office? Are you on holiday?
Potentially, might be. We'll work it out. We'll get a podcast to you.
We will. We'll always find a way. I mean, looking through the dates, though, the Alfa Romeo livery, there's a very good chance that'll go live before this episode. Then we've got AlphaTauri, Aston Martin and McLaren next week, before I think the final one's going to be quite spicy. Mercedes, Ferrari and Alpine in the final preview show. And that will even be episode 100 of Knowing
down.
Wheel as well. But thank you all so much for listening as always. If you have enjoyed, please do make sure to leave a like, get yourself subscribed, follow us as well, like we said, on all our socials. There will be linked down below if you're here on YouTube. But yeah, we will return next week then with more of F1 2023 preview. We'll be back, 4 teams to go through. They're all in the midfield, so that's going to be quite interesting when we predict 16 podiums between them.